Hello, everybody, and welcome to our May 3rd Thursday competition with Will Terry. I'm Will Terry, Lee White, and Jake Parker.
Hello.
Hello?
And tonight we have a lot of great art as usual, and we're going to kick this thing off by turning it over to Lee.
Got my cue?
Well, you're
The
kind of
okay.
because it's your prompt. It's kind of you're in charge, but
Okay, well let's go back to what is Third Thursday for the first viewers and newbies in the group.
yeah.
Sounds
So
good.
so third Thursday we have basically a competition where anyone can join in, and we give a prompt the previous month, and that prompt is more of an illustration prompt rather than just a word or a phrase, and it's set up to be more like an actual assignment. We pick one winner on the third Thursday, well, the day before the third Thursday, and then we pick an unspecified number of honorable mentions, and then we pick two each that we're going to critique live right here, right now. And the ones that we pick aren't necessarily the best. They're usually the ones that we either felt an attachment to for the teaching opportunity or for what? For some other great reason. I don't know why you
Yeah,
guys, how you
It's
pick.
always about a teaching opportunity. Some images, so sometimes each a prompt will multiple students will have the same problem, so we'll pick an
mhm,
image that kind of caters to that. And so
Right,
there's a lot of different reasons for the ones we pick.
right.
yeah. I just usually look at it like, oh, there's something here that I see. This is a fence that I see a lot, and I want to clear this up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Now,
Um,
Will, let me ask you a quick question.
yeah.
Another admin question. Are we doing the honorable mentions only, or am I showing all of them?
We usually show all of them because people put in
Okay,
a lot of
that's
work,
what I
and
thought.
so yeah, we'll run through all of them. Before we do though, let me just make a few quick announcements if I can. Um, and I'm gonna steal it from you for just a second here. Um, there we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so just a couple of quick things. Uh, for those of you who haven't joined us before, we usually put our prompt on our website, which is svslearn.com. And here's the new prompt right here. We'll talk about it at the end, but this is for June. And then also, I just also wanted to really quick show that we had spring critiques last month. Was it last month? Yeah, last month. And we're going
hmm
to have some more. And we usually announce those in our forums. You can get to our forums just right on our website here. They fill up fast. So if you want to get, they're going to be critiques like what we're doing tonight, only they'll be a little more stringent, would you say?
Yeah.
And they're definitely more in depth.
A little more borax, a little more Ajax in there. Uh, and yeah, so we're going to do those sometime probably in July, I'm thinking. But we've got to get the date. But we'll post them here when we're ready. And that's it. So I'm going to turn that
Oh
back.
wait, I should announce since you have the page up, we have a couple of new videos. If you guys haven't seen them yet, the painting the head with Britt Snyder just launched this week, and then digital painting with old Dennis Silber was that last week or the week before?
Yeah, the week before.
Right.
Yeah, and then Jake's drawing animals. So three right off the bat we've had released in rapid succession. So if you haven't seen those, go check them out. They're pretty awesome. Very different styles between and information on all three of them.
Yep.
So check them out if you haven't seen them.
Yep.
And then my business video should be releasing some point very soon. We got to decide on the day.
Yep. So exciting things. And also I
Mhm.
might just add that if you're joining us live, if you want to join us live, if you're on YouTube right now and want to know how to join us live, just join us on our Facebook page to get the link to join in to go to meeting for free. And for the people here with us tonight, you can always type in the chat if you want to talk to us. We'll try to keep an eye on the chat. And
Yeah.
and if we're critiquing your piece, we might even see if we can unmute you so that you can explain why we got it wrong and things like that. So, okay, Lee, show us the images.
All right, so this is the prompt that I gave was a tricky one for sure. It was get a fortune cookie, crack it open, and illustrate the fortune that you find. So depending on what you get, it could be very tricky. The only rule was that you had to include the fortune either below the image, just somewhere where we could read what was going on. So this will be fun to kind of go through. Look to the future, but don't forget to enjoy the today. Beautiful things happen when you distance yourself from the negative. Your talents will be recognized and rewarded.
I really like that people included their fortune. Most everybody did.
Yeah. I mean that was part of the rules too, so I'm glad you guys did that. But the illustrations wouldn't make sense unless we had that, so it's good. Mm-hmm. You'll find fame and fortune. Trust me, it's great. It's a funny conversational tone to a fortune cookie. I've seen a couple of those lately. Shelby read the fortune cookie when her date was in the restroom. It said, "You can do better." Very good. A new voyage will fill your life with untold memories. Let me make that a little bigger. Don't forget how special you are. No fortune. I'm dying to know the fortune on this one.
Yeah. I saw that one and I was like, what?
I don't know. No fortune on this one. Be nice looking illustration. Reminds me a little bit of Brad Holland style. Enjoy the good luck a companion brings you. Your dearest wish will come true. It's a fire hazard there, so don't wear candles in your hair. Friends will guide you to your next opportunity. A little NC Wyeth kind of looking there.
Yeah,
Idleness is the holiday of fools. You must try or hate yourself for not trying.
This one looks like a Lee White illustration.
This one?
No, the previous one. Like they've been studying you.
I could see that. Graphic patterns and swirly bits. No fortune on this one. Something to do with probably finding calm in a chaotic situation. They even snuck Godzilla in back here, so that's some
King Kong.
King Kong.
And
Cheerful
two
outlook
sombreros.
is one of your cheerful outlook is one of your best assets. The great pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. Simplicity and clarity should be your theme in dress. A cheerful heart makes its own song. These are great fortunes, by the way. You are cautious showing your true self. Really good ones. I'm dying to illustrate some of these. Believe you can do it. You will have a long, healthy life. I love that they included the fortune itself.
Right.
You will miss 100% of the shots you never take. A pleasant meeting with an old friend. It's an odd fortune. Sometimes they come out like that. They're just kind of a little moment or something.
Right.
Life is a song. Sing it loud. All right, so that's the overall grouping. I'll put these on the forum tomorrow, just as a single post, and I'll have all these images. So, like I said, it was definitely a tricky prompt. These are the ones that I chose for the honorable mention. If it didn't have the fortune, it definitely would not have made it into this, even if it was the best illustration I'd ever seen. You guys have to adhere to those kind of criteria that we list in showing the fortune. Your clients will kill you if you do that. You do a beautiful illustration and all of a sudden you didn't leave room for the type or you didn't include something they needed in there. So I just love the layout of this one.
So before you switch, I just wanted to make a mention on that one. That was one that Cheryl did for last time, and she recycled it for this time, and I think that's awesome. I just want everyone to know that I think, like, reworking your story, and she changed a lot. She really fixed a lot. I didn't pick it for a critique simply because I critiqued that one last time, but I do think it's really what's a good word? Economical.
Well, what I like about it is, if you guys have seen the first part of my business class, she's basically licensing the image for different projects.
Right. There you go.
So something to keep in mind.
It's good.
Love this. This reminds me of Steve Brodner, the style. You guys see that a little bit?
Yeah.
It has that overall palette. Really beautiful. This is just a great moment of being a kid and being just amazed by something. I love that. It's not to like here. It's just a beautiful color palette. I love the sketchy line work too. I'd like to see more of that in illustrations. It's something I'm definitely interested in. Like I said earlier, this reminded me of NCY. Look at the textures on these trees. Just really, really beautiful.
Yeah,
almost looks like a traditional. Oh, go ahead.
I really like the poses.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, great gesture. Even the guy just standing idle. Really, they're great gestures. And even just a slight lean, slight tilt. Almost looks like a traditional scratch board.
Yeah.
Really nice. This one scared me, but I like it. I like it when sometimes I have to pay attention to how I view an image, and like when I saw this one, my eye actually follows the path of the blade, which I think is interesting. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it just like straight down, and then you get the payoff at the end. So compositional win there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean anything done in this style is going to get a pick from me. I like Jake said, it's kind of in my wheelhouse here, so I like it. Really great palette. Keeping palettes simple is something I definitely am a big advocate of, and I advise a lot of times keep a palette very simple, and it's just a pleasing image to look at.
So there's some questions right now. Are we going through the questions? Are we going through the honorable mentions right now? And the answer is yes. But then other people are saying they didn't see theirs. Did you show all the images?
I downloaded them at about noon today, and that was all. That was everything that I had. If I didn't get to yours, I will definitely put it on the website. But that was what was in the Dropbox.
Okay. So if we did not show yours, we bend over backwards apologizing because that is wrong, and we'll try to figure out what the problem is, because I'm seeing a few comments where people are saying they're not seeing theirs. Just to reiterate, we changed our submission guidelines to where we need to get them the day before, so we have time to look at them and time to send them around and stuff. So that could be the problem, but somebody's saying they sent theirs Wednesday afternoon, which means we should have had it. Again, I apologize for that if we messed that up. And
I'll definitely post all of them on the forum. I don't know why it wouldn't have been in the folder, because it downloads it just as a single file. It's not like I'm having to manually select. It downloads them all.
Aaron updated the folder today. I saw like a few hours ago, but he was doing that to be kind. But basically, it's too late. It's past the deadline. So those are probably some that didn't.
Well, I'll check into it, and yeah, we'll definitely get you guys posted. Maybe we'll go through the ones that we didn't show next third Thursday, just so you get screen time.
Yeah.
Because if you did the work, we definitely want to reward you for that, for sure. Okay, so simplicity and clarity should be your theme and dress. Love that one.
I really like the design on that guy.
Too good. I mean, this starts to make me think that maybe a logo could be. I mean, even a silhouette would be awesome of this guy. So that's how you know it's really winner of a shape.
Right.
Yeah, really great. It's just fun how much. I mean, this is such a simple layout. Excuse me, but I just loved how much energy he put into this guy going up the steps. It's great. That sounds really good. I had to look at it for a minute because I was like, what are all these people doing on there? And then I realized it's somebody going from cradle to grave.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Very subtle. Very subtle. I love things that make me, I don't want to say work, because we talk about that when we're critiquing quite a bit, that don't make the viewer work too hard. But when it's a content kind of payoff, I appreciate it. If it's me searching for what's happening, I don't want that kind of work. But this one's good because I was like, oh, it's cool. And then when I saw that little thing, I was like, oh, that's really nice. I don't necessarily know if it needed the Grim Reaper over here.
I thought
interesting thing.
One thing I really liked about that one was how they highlighted the fortune, the drop shadow. I thought that was a neat.
Yeah, cool.
It looks like a book. I mean, how cool! I think this would make a great. I don't know about children's book, but a whole illustrated book of fortunes. Maybe that'll be my Kickstarter, Will. 'Cause I don't know about you guys, but if you have ever done a project like this one, but I've given this a few times in my illustration class, and I love it. Like I just think it would be a really fun project to illustrate. I know it's hard too, but I think it'd be fun. This one's great. Again, right in my wheelhouse in terms of elephant riding a unicycle. Can't go wrong with that one. and really nice palette too. Even though it's full color, it's very controlled, and so I definitely appreciate that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my honorable mentions. Really great work, everybody. There wasn't as many submissions, so it makes me think that maybe this critique was harder. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear or see what you guys think in the chat about whether a concept like this. I know my assignments are sometimes a little bit more abstract than Will and Jake's, so I'd love to hear.
You're also
how it
battling
went for them.
kids starting to get out of school and also the good weather coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally true. I do want to add just an overall critique of all of them. I mean, I think you guys nailed a lot of them. If you guys struggled with it, one thing you want to do when you're given a fortune is to think about what led to the fortune instead of illustrating what the fortune said. Like we had one that said, "You will get great riches," and there's a kid sitting there with a lot of riches. But there's not enough payoff for somebody to stay on an illustration like that. So what you got to do is think about some kind of interesting way that led that person to the riches. And so you got to do you have to write a story, in other words. And so that's my first critique for tonight is if you guys weren't writing, you basically had to write a small little mini narrative working backwards from the fortune. Or forward from the fortune, depending on what the fortune was, to really get a sense of story and to get a sense of space. And I'm going to talk about that in the individual critiques too. But it's important. Like in the project like this, the first probably 2 days, I've not drawn a single image. I'm just writing words and what's happening and what time of day is it and what kind of person is this that I'm illustrating. What kind of clothes would they be wearing? I'm doing all of this just writing. And if you're starting out drawing, you're going in too quick. And if you're starting out with just a factual image like, oh, there's riches, and so now I'm going to have money there, it's too obvious of a payoff. You got to do the back work and the backstory stuff. So that would be my.
When you again, I'll just reiterate: when you get into drawing too quickly, you start to create value, and then you don't want to change. And change in the early stages is critical.
Right.
To coming up with a good idea.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. You want to just go ahead and start with mine since my screen's already up?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to start with. Let me pull it up real quick.
While you're doing that, I might say part of the process of moving to the higher levels of an artist is the ability to throw away a lot of your time. So if everything you're doing is precious and you're not able to throw it away, then you're not going to grow as fast as if you can essentially say, I can do better and throw away what you've already worked on in order to do better.
Yeah, it should just be par for the course that you do something 3, 4, 5 times. It shouldn't be like, oh man, I messed up and you're kind of crushed and broken by it. It should just be part of the process. You do an illustration and then some things were good and some things didn't go well, so you take what was good and leave the bad, hopefully, either fix it. I mean, when I was in school at Art Center, some of those kids, like they taught me how to learn, I guess, and how to succeed, because they would do 3, 4, 5 attempts at an illustration, and all of them I thought were good, and then the last one is like, oh yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of building up to it, and I learned a lot by watching that process. It's like they didn't just like do the one and be like, oh, that didn't end up so well. They kept hammering it out. And with an abstract assignment like this, it's sometimes you have to do that. Go back to the drawing board. Anyway, so I'm going to start with Nancy. I don't know how to say that last name because we always get hard names to pronounce. Gormezano, maybe? Gormezano?
It's up to you, Lee. It's yours. You have to.
Anyway, so like I said, this one's right in my wheelhouse in terms of the style. I love the palette. I think it's a great interpretation of the fortune. So it's got a lot of things working for it. So of course, the first the first things that I start to ask myself, is there anything unclear about the image in terms of story, in terms of what am I looking at, both just in technical terms and story-wise? I ask myself that question. Is anything not reading that well? And then obviously the technical details are going to come into that. A couple of things came to mind. There's going to be typos all over the place. Right when I saw it, so the first thing that I thought to myself is, after saying, oh, I love seeing an elephant on a tightrope, I thought to myself, why am I not getting type? There we go. Where is this place? I don't need totally factual locations. I'm not looking for a spot on Google Maps for this to be. But I need to know kind of where. Is it the side of a ship? Is it what is happening here? And there's just not enough detail, and it's not abstract enough. It's right in that no man's land of making me question what I'm looking at. And then there was, in terms of the character design, I love the elephant. Then I started looking around and I was thinking, okay, we got a second character, we got a third character, so now we got 3 characters, which I love groupings of 3, but right now all 3 of them are looking off the page this way, so we're kind of got a little bit too much momentum going this way, and then they're actually not relating to each other. So the second you put 2 characters together, people assume a relationship. Either it could be, and it could be anything, it doesn't have to mean they're friends. They could be enemies, there could be jealousy, maybe one's in love and the other one's not in love, maybe they're friends. It could be anything, but when you have 2 people in an image, that's when you need to start doing some work, and because the viewer is going to put that relationship together whether you want them to or not. And these are just 3, they're just not working together as a whole. So those are the things that I was thinking about in terms of how do I critique this. And that's a good way to start a critique, in my opinion, because you're not just saying, oh, is it a cool image or not? It is a cool image. And then when you get into this, asking the questions about it, it makes it easy to diagnose things. So the first thing, and I'm going to walk you through a really ugly process because, I mean, I don't know how Jake just does it right the first time. He's lucky that way. He just pulls out his pen and just draws it. For me, it's a murky fog of asking myself questions like, do I know where I am? Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And it's just really murky. I don't want to come across, we do these critiques every month, and sometimes it might seem as me and Will just go up through the layers. They were just like, okay, check that box and make this over here, and it's really hazy. And then only in hindsight, when you're just cruising through the layers, is it a little bit clear. And even then, it's not totally clear. So I'm going to just show you my clumsy process. So the first thing that I was thinking about is the elephant's on a tightrope. You definitely want to get that height into the image, in my opinion, unless there's an obvious reason to not have the elephant be high up in the air, like whatever that rope is attached to. Like I said, if it was a ship or something, that would be different. But elephant on a tightrope, I definitely want to exaggerate the height, so I want to pull it up. There's some other things like little tangents and things that we want to work on, so I added a little bit of space over to the right and definitely down below. I moved, let me turn that layer off. You see right now that the type is kind of encroaching the main character. If you get out here, it's really close to the character, almost like it's going to hit the character. You want to give a little bit of space if you can. And my first step was just to paint out whatever that is. I like that shape. I might want to use that as like a kite design or something. I don't know. Oh, it's a plane. I thought it was a duck actually looking to the left. It's kind of one of those things you can see both ways. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Now it looks exactly like a plane. I can barely see the duck anymore. Anyway, I thought it was a duck sticking out of the clouds. Anyway.
Well, yeah, that right there though is if if the silhouette isn't clear enough, you can reinterpret the image to be whatever your brain sees.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. It's one of those cool things. Okay, so anyway, so I moved the type over just to give a little bit of space. And by the way, when I'm doing this, you see me and Jake and Will all kind of do this. We zoom out, we look at it, and we see if the balance is working. I mean, it really just comes down to just an aesthetic and trying to get all these things. It comes down to graphic design. I hate to say it. I say it every time. But but it really does. I think about story, what's going to go in the image, and then it's all graphic design at this stage. A big shape, a small shape. I'm not even thinking really elephant or, ground or anything like that. I'm just thinking big shape, small shape, skinny, fat, trying to just balance all this stuff out. So I thought if we're going to have this height up there, and I didn't want the awkwardness of this going off the page if this was some kind of mast or something, I thought maybe a ground plane in there, so I just made that line. I don't know if I was going to keep it or not. Like I said earlier, I think the characters were competing a little bit too much, so for now I like two characters being in the shot, but I'm going to remove this one because it's drawing just attention away from the main character. And then I thought, if I can make the characters somehow relate, and so I just drew a quick little crow, like something that would actually be up high, because a mouse probably not going to be that high, and balancing on the thing while the elephant's up there. But maybe this thing is like, I started getting an idea once I put the crow in there that this is telephone wires, and that's where I started going and just kind of brainstorming, moving away. So I love the idea of the bird just being up there going, okay, what is an elephant doing up here? Mm-hmm. So then that works to the next stage, which I went ahead and added my ground plane. Still haven't really done much concepting of what's down there. Just know that it's a shape down there. For up high, we definitely want to start exaggerating some of those clouds and repeating. Anytime I add one thing, you got the one cloud here, you want to repeat it. So it's always kind of just balancing that stuff out. Again, this is just graphic design. I don't want to take too much away from the main character, so I'm keeping most of the shapes down here really medium to dark value, and I'll keep all the light and colorful stuff up here. Mm-hmm. Maybe add a foreground. If I got the dark shape here, if I added one bird, I want to add some more birds. So again, once you add one thing,
that height, the height really makes it immediate. I mean, you really start to feel like, you feel for the danger of it, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it adds to the flavor of it. It's fun. So, but it's pretty easy to do just by asking yourself these questions. But I do want to point out that, like, add a bird here, you add more birds over here. You add trees here, you add a bigger tree here. So you're just kind of repeating. But then, so the guideline I use a lot is repetition with variation. And so anytime you guys add something to your image, just say, where else can I put that, but slightly change it or slightly tweak it. Now, I started thinking to myself, and this is one I don't know if I'm going to keep, I needed to put something down there because it's just a gray, flat land. I thought, the overall tone of the story is happiness and kind of this whimsy, and so I wanted maybe some sunflowers would be really cool down there. I'm not totally sure, but the sunflowers sparked the idea to give a little bit more emphasis on the main character. I'll leave them in for now. I don't know what you guys think, because I don't want to all of a sudden pull the attention down here. So if you notice, I muted that. I have it at 65% opacity. If I pull it up, then it starts to vibrate a little bit, and all of a sudden I'm going, hey, it's about the sunflowers. So you don't want to do that. So you can knock it back and still get the idea, and then still keep the emphasis on our main character up here. And then lastly, I thought I love the elephant. The other arm wasn't really working that well. If you look over here, it's really tough to tell what's going on over here. This is a trick that I do a lot on book covers. I just don't draw the other arm. Almost half my characters have their arm amputated because it's really awkward to just put the arm coming out of the stomach, which happens a lot, or like just a random arm like up in the air. So feel free to use that trick. A lot of times when people are riding unicycles, the arms come way out. And I like that gesture too, that balancing kind of gesture. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have enough time, and I didn't want to start trying to balance out the sunflower. And
if that doesn't look right, you could lengthen the other arm, right? You could lengthen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to solve that. That back arm is always tricky. Sometimes the back leg does that, but the back leg never gives me as much trouble as the back arm does. I don't know why. I thought a lot of the details are drawn really nice. The face though looks a little bit clunky in terms of this style, and it seems like the artist is not totally sure. Like, it's kind of cartoony, but then they're almost drawn realistically, like a realistic pair of lips stuck on this real stylized character. And so I got rid of that and just did a simpler kind of line version of that. Just have her closing the eyes, and it reads a little bit farther out. If you look at this one, once we get farther out, it's kind of hard to tell what the facial expression is. So I want that read to be a little bit stronger. Anyway, so that's kind of the process, and that's where I ended up. Hopefully, you know, exaggerating what the content is. You guys have anything to add to that?
I'm glad you made the note on the eyes. When I first saw this image earlier today, I thought it was a cyclops because I read the white and black wrong, and I thought I just thought that middle section of black was like the actual iris, and the two whites were the wrapping around it.
Oh, I totally see what you're saying now. Yeah, I see it like that too.
Stylistically, stylistically, is it ever okay to have two eyes on the same side of the head?
I do that all the time. In my first like 4 or 5 books, I put the eyes floating off to the side of the head, not even attached to the body.
Yeah, so I don't want to send the message that you can't do. You can do really primitive, inaccurate drawing, but it still has to read his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
look at Lane Smith is a master at that.
Who?
He has all these funny eyes. Lane Smith.
Yeah.
He's great at it. He's got all these eyes floating everywhere, and Jimmy Pickering's good at it. A bunch of illustrators. I mean, you can draw any kind of eyes.
I love Jimmy Pickering's stuff.
Yeah, he's good.
I could not believe he works in oils. I thought it was digital.
No, it's all traditional. He moved up here for a while. He opened a gallery in Astoria, Oregon, and I got to see some of his originals. They're just amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a real stylistic kind of painter. If you guys don't know who he is, but it's got realistic form, but it's cartoony, and it's just. I mean, Will kind of lives in that world too. Really cool with realistic light, but real stylized shapes. Anyway, that's what I would do to this image. You may want to play around with that arm, but yeah, once you have this is just such a great start, and then now it's just about editing a little bit more.
Okay, I'm going to grab it. Is that all right?
Sure.
So I have, can you see mine? I've got Bronson's image. And the reason that I chose, and I'm glad he's here, the reason I chose this was because of how professional it looked. And I thought, you know, we're all at different stages. And sometimes we look at someone else's art and we just go, the tendency is to look at it and go, oh my gosh, you're so good. I wish I could get there someday. You know, someday I can be that good. But we all have things that we can maybe improve upon a little bit. The things that I'm going to talk about on his are super nitpicky because of how good this actually is. It's really professional level. In fact, I was going to ask Bronson, like I searched for him online and I couldn't find a website. Are you there, Bronson? I've got you unmuted if you want to say something. Maybe he might be out of the room. So anyway, or maybe he doesn't want to say anything. It's just amazing. And so the things that I came up with were really small, and there's just not much of them. And they're really kind of tied together, and that is concept clarity. So the clarity of concept, making sure that everything reads really quickly, which he's got about 90% or 95%, and then redundant superfluous shapes. So first one, concept clarity, I think he's already really pretty much nailed that. I mean, you read his fortune. Shelby read the fortune cookie when her date was in the restroom. It said, you can do better. And I just thought that was really fun. The other thing I thought was this was another reason why I wanted to critique this one, is not a critique, but it's a pat on the back for owning this assignment. So I have a feeling that he wrote his own fortune cookie. I don't think he found this fortune, which I think is awesome, because I think what you should do when you approach an assignment is try to figure out a way to do the thing that you want to do. At least that's the way that I approach it. I don't want to be led down a path to destruction because I found a fortune that didn't give me what I wanted, right? So I ended up illustrating this thing that I didn't really want to illustrate, and it didn't turn out as good because I wasn't passionate about it. So give yourself permission to manipulate the assignment, and I think he did a really good job of that. But the thing that I see on this is this, what we've got here is we've got two characters in the middle ground, and we've got two characters in the foreground. And so with the fact that we've got 2 and 2, I think that's why I said you got 90% of the concept, because these guys have the higher contrast. They're more interesting, and we really don't see these foreground characters as much. However, because you've got two characters and two characters, it's kind of like there's two conversations. Are they related? And I think you make your viewer struggle just a little bit to realize that no, those people in the foreground really aren't part of the illustration. So I think there's several ways to fix that. The other problem that's kind of related is that you've got this roof line right here, and this is going to get into the nitpicky right here. You've got this roof line, and then you've got this roof line, and you've got a lot of things back here. This city back here really is just to provide flavor. So if we crop that out, you can see that the illustration still holds up, right? And that's when you know you have extra. That's when you know you have something that's not needed, that's just going to confuse what you already have going on. Is everything still works. But in fixing this, or in playing around with this, I think we can use that space to actually move the characters up a little bit. Now, this isn't going to work perfectly because the waiter here, who's got a great expression, is going to be out of perspective and is not part of the scene, and so you just have to bear with me and use your imagination a little bit. But if we move them up, and then if we add some more characters in the foreground, I think then what you're looking at is a pattern of characters in the foreground rather than two specific characters in the foreground. You end up with more of a part of the framing, which you already had done really, really well. But you just add a little bit more framing, and then that puts more emphasis on these characters in the background. You also don't have as much background detracting, and I think that would actually make this illustration a little bit better. And the last thing I thought was, I think conceptually, and I want to get Jake and Lee's opinion on this, but I think conceptually you could make her date a little bit more undesirable. Now, I came up with maybe throwing a mustache on him or something like that, because mustaches are kind of creepy, right? But something more than that, like maybe he's flaunting money. That was another idea I had, but I didn't draw it in there. Maybe he's got gaudy rings, and just trying to, someone who's very materialistic, or maybe there's something else about him where he's, more annoying. I mean, the going in for the kiss like that is pretty creepy. So that's really good, and you already really nailed it. But I want to get your guys' take. What would you do differently?
On to the character to make him seem a little bit creepy and less desirable?
Would you push that a little further, that concept, or would you leave it as is?
Well, I like the mustache actually, but it kind of fits the scene.
Uh-huh.
But the danger in going too far with that is it's got to be a plausible date for this girl, and
right. Why would she pick him? Why would she pick him in the first place? I was thinking maybe blind date, and maybe she got, but then again, if she's already chosen him, it doesn't really work, because you could do better, meaning.
There's some subtle hints though here, and I don't know if this is just me reading into the stuff there that I like, that maybe she thought this was going to be good. I like the idea of the blind date, but if it's not the blind date, you got some details that are really nice here. You got so say she arrived to dinner, and perfectly acceptable start of the date. Maybe he's got this kind of funny jacket, so that's the first red flag. The second red flag is when he stuffs the napkin in the collar.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely going to be a red flag if you're at a nice restaurant. And then if you notice, she still has food on her plate. He's like completely killed off his plate, and he has the martini there. So he's just kind of like gluttonous, just out of control, a little bit more out of control, while she seems like she's kind of, in control and just being like the date is just wearing long.
Right.
So I don't know if those little details are intended, but I like them if I'm reading them correctly.
It's great. Yeah. It's a great piece.
I caught those details as well. Also, he's got the comb over too, and the I guess they're 90s sideburns, which are way out of style now, right? Yeah, so I think I think he's you know what? All you have to do, you don't even have to do any of that stuff. It's all about her expression, and he's nailed that. And as long as, even if he's the most attractive guy, if she's doing that, that's all it needs to sell it.
Yeah.
The fact that there's all this happening with him as well, just sends the message along, uh, even
It's a
better.
great it's a great piece, and it's if we made any changes, they would be totally opinion based because it's not right or wrong. I'll
I
just
do like the addition of the framing that you added with the extra characters. I think that helps the composition quite a bit.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
I think that's the main thing for me, and that's why I wanted to pick this one is because I thought it's so close. It just needs a little bit more, and sometimes that's really the difference between really attracting an art director or not is can you really sell that concept all the way? And I think this one is, like I said, 90% there. So
And having that much detail in the background makes me think that that's a part of the,
right.
uh, like he took her to some Chinese restaurant. I'm not I'm not sure what it's trying to say right there, but there wouldn't be that much detail if it wasn't a message that he's trying to make to
Hmm.
the viewer.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I have for this one. I'm going to switch it over to you there, Jake.
Sounds good.
Thank you. And
Okay,
thanks,
so
Bronson. That was a great piece.
yeah,
Yep.
so I have Beverly's piece here. Beverly Holtzman, and what initially struck me about this piece was the hand just felt a little off, and I wanted to talk about drawing a better hand. But as I got into it a little bit more, looking at it, I realized compositionally there might be some other things we could do to really punch this piece up. So I think first off, a smooth sea never made a skillful sailor is great. I think the concept is good. You have a toy sailor in a boat with the in the tub with the kid, and the water's running, and there's like all kinds of chaos happening. But yeah, I want to know, like, can we sell that? Can we sell that even more? Compositionally, I think it's a very clear, easy to read composition. I think it's fine, but again, can we push that further? So let's do that really quick. Then we'll get into the hand, and then I think then we'll call it done. So what I don't know if you guys do this, but this is really key to making a great illustration is to always start with doing, even if it's just 3 of them, you could do 20 of them, just little composition, little thumbnail drawings, okay, no bigger than this. Make sure that your pen tip is fat because you do not want to you don't want to put details in there. It's just about big blocky shapes. So for this one, we're going to say that the action is happening in front of us, but we're going to be down low. We're going to be close to the water's edge. So I want to put some big waves here like this, and then maybe have this boat like really um, tumbling over the water, right? You have this shark fin. There's nothing telling us that this is a toy other than it's a bathtub. Initially I thought, is that a real shark? Just because there's no visual thing to this particular shark fin that tells us it's a toy. So maybe what you do down here is you have your shark cresting out of the water, and you can clearly see like it's a toy, like maybe he's got googly eyes or whatever. Okay, so there's that. And then you have the kid's hand holding it, and what if you even had like the toy sailor flying out of the boat um, like that. And then I'm trying to think, where are we going to fit this water spout? So maybe water spout is right back here, and we've got the edge of the bathtub coming along like this. We'll fix that hand a little bit. And we've got our this thing happening there. And maybe a little bit of tile just for texture. Okay, and then I'll go in at this, we'll have the splash happening back here like that. Then I'll go in and just add a little bit of tone.
When do you
stuff.
use a foreshortening view like what she's got there?
With the boat coming straight forward to us?
Yeah.
You know what? I try to avoid it as much as possible because it's just hard. It's hard to make it look good.
You see big ships in a lot of illustrations coming towards you, but they usually take up the whole image. So there's a lot of
something like that.
Yeah. And then there's a reason for the scale at that point.
Right. So that's why, yeah, and you bring up a really good point. By changing the angle of this ship, you're reading this image a lot quicker, a lot faster, because our brains think symbolically, so we recognize that this is a ship almost instantly, even though it's like such a basic shape. But something like this, we're not sure what that could be.
Right.
So I think clarity is king. It's the emperor. It is the god of illustration. Clarity, and you have to sacrifice everything in order to have clarity first, and then you can go in and you can render pretty, and you can add all the little jokes and just the everything else. But if it's not clear, none of that other stuff matters. So let's do one more composition here, and maybe we are looking down. We've got like water happening. We've got this thing like coming this way. We've got maybe more of a top view of the boat.
Beverly says she kind of rushed this one. She went with the first composition that she came up with, and that's the plight for all of us. I still do that. I still end up taking compositions and then fighting with them and then starting another one.
Yeah. So this one I don't really like. I don't think it. What's that?
So do you notice how fast it is? I mean, just say that you don't have time for that early work. The early work should just be, fairly quick. Not as fast as Jake's doing it, obviously, because he's does it so much. But spend an hour doing this, you could at least have 10.
You're harsh, Lee.
I am harsh because that first step is easy. I got too easy first. A lot of people do hard first, and then the whole process is hard. Like you said, you make the quick thing, and then you gotta fight it the rest of the way, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking we're from the character's POV, so this hand is going to be foreshortened towards us. And here we have like this guy really holding on tight to the boat, and there's like water splashing everywhere, and we've got our shark. I'm going to say that your client was like, it's got to have a shark in it, so we're going to keep that shark. We've got water coming down here. I kind of like this one a little bit better than this one because it's got, if we were to do the basic shapes, we've got like our focal point is going to be right here, and then you've got like all this stuff sort of happening around the focal point. You've got the boat. So I think it's sort of like drawing our eye into that. Okay, so there's that. Let's do it just a little bit bigger. Once you have that going on, you could even go to this size, but we'll try it a little bit bigger here. And this way we'll add a little bit more detail. Got this going on. We've got the hand coming in, holding the boat. now we can add a little bit extra stuff to make it look like a boat. And I think what we do here is we have him holding on for dear life right there, maybe something like that. We're going to have this water happening behind it, and then have the edge of the thing happening there.
Do you see this picture before you draw it, Jake?
In my head?
Yeah. Do you see the whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It's just a matter of like, sometimes it's trying to find it in the line work, but there's something I do, and that is really, closing my eyes or really going in there and thinking, what do I want to draw? Like visualizing it in your brain. I don't know how you get there or what you do to train yourself that way, but a lot of times I'll just see the image in my head, and then it's just a matter of transferring that to the paper. I think what it is though, part of it is just having a catalog of imagery already in your head, where you're studying compositions, you're studying, you freeze frame an image on an animated film, you're like, oh, why is this so appealing to me? And you're looking at it and you're studying it and you're building that library, you're building that catalog, so that when you are all of a sudden called upon to do a rocky boat in the water, you're already thinking of these things. And that reminds me, one of the things I remember, one of my favorite concept art images was these guys on a boat, and the waves are just going like this, and the boat's cutting through it, and you see this island in the background, and these guys are on the boat, and there's something like floating. And I remember just studying that and looking at it and copying it, and in my mind and thinking about it. And anytime I need to do some sort of illustration with graceful waves or rocky waves or something, I always go back to that and think of that, and how can I apply it to the image that I'm doing. So there's that. Once you have it this stage, I would blow it up again, take it even further, go in there and add the details. We won't do that here. This really what I wanted to talk about this one is just building a composition. Next thing though, I just want to say, look, first off, when you're drawing a hand, it's really important that you count how many fingers. We have a thumb, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. Just want to make sure that you're drawing a human, if that's what you're doing, and making sure that they have the 4 fingers on one hand.
She had a 2-year-old running around. That's hard on anybody. Now, Lee's trying to one-up you with a 5-year-old, but...
So there's that.
No, the 2-year-old is harder, that's for sure.
If I were to do this hand in this angle, this is the key to drawing a hand. A hand is made up of this shape and then these shapes, these cylinders, right? So you're going to have the thumb come around this way. The thumb actually works pretty good. You've got this radius bone, the joint right there. That's pretty good, like that. It's the fingers that I think get a little wonky there. So I would do one major finger coming forward, and then and really that's the trick with hands is you group the fingers. So you might have this finger and then these 3 like connected, or you might have this finger loose and then you'll connect these 2 fingers and have it like that, or vice versa. It's really that's how you deal with. Otherwise, your brain's like, oh, there's so many fingers, I can't handle it. When you group the fingers, it's so much easier. So you're thinking about these fingers, and they're taking up this space right here on the end here. They each need their room, and so I'm just going to put these ones together like that, and then we have this major one
Matt is asking,
coming across.
would this fall under the kind of the silhouette rule? Would the shape be understood if it were solid, more solid?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, you, if you're drawing it in this angle, this is a little bit of a weird angle, but yeah, it's that shape is a little bit more readable when it's I think simplified and you have certain pieces of it grouped. Okay, so there's that. Then just
one thing that's weird about drawing hands when people are drawing them from imagination is they want to show all fingers no matter what the pose is. If you look at photo reference of somebody holding something or doing something, a lot of times the fingers are blocked, like kind of like Jake's drawing right now. But when people draw from their imagination, they want to include all of it. And I've noticed people do that with just the overall pose. Like if you look at good action photos of reference, a lot of times the head will be partially hidden because the body blocks it. But if people are drawing from their imagination, they'll always have the head straight up, just because it's weird to block it in a weird way. And so it's just something to pay attention to.
Simona asks, what is the advantage of taking a finger out like Disney does all the time?
again, it's just simplifying it. It's going back to this is a boat, and I understand that, and I'm not quite sure what that is, from the front view of a boat. And
Beverly
so,
just fessed up that she's got 6 fingers, so
It can happen.
that's great.
It happened in Princess Bride.
Making an illustration for 6-fingered monthly, then great.
Lynn and I hit
the rest of us
Bride at the same time.
All right, good job, Beverly. I'm passing the baton to Lee.
okay. All right. I'm going to be doing Kai's Satoshi's image, but before I do that, I wanted to add to what Jake was saying just a second ago about thumbnailing, because he's just got such a good way of going about it that's just intuitive, and I want to try to hopefully show you guys how us less intuitive primitive folk do it.
Sorry.
Step one. Sorry, I'm drawing looking up, not drawing on my Cintiq. I'm drawing looking at the monitor, but my hand is on the Cintiq, so this is going to be kind of clunky. So step one is just the idea, and I want you to think of step one not as a drawing, but as a storyboard. And so, step one could just look however it's going to look. It could look like, there's my boat. I mean, it's almost at this stage, it's like icons. Whatever. Here's the shower. Just straight on. I mean, nobody would illustrate this shot. There's the hand coming in. There's the boat. This is just the elements that are in the elements. Okay, so now you've got a couple of things. You've got water, you got a boat, you got a hand, and you got some faucet fixtures and stuff like that. So the next thing to do is basically take your camera and start moving the camera around. How would a scene like this look from the different viewpoints? And that becomes the next stage of what Jake was doing, where you've got the up shot and the down shot, and it starts to set up those compositions. Jake just goes right here because he can already draw down views, he can draw up views and all that stuff, but he was also responding to an image that was already there. So step one might be really, really ugly. But it's just what are the elements?
Responding to an image that's already there is called cheating also.
It's easier, but right. When we're at that stage, I don't hold myself to. I almost want this image to be hideous because I'm just trying to figure out what is the ingredients, and then you start flying around. Basically, think of it like a drone, and all you got to do is have one image, and then like this image of Kai's over here. We could draw this from the down view camera looking up at the thing a little bit more. We could draw it from the space view, from the rocket's view looking back at the kid. I mean, it becomes easy at that point once we've got what the elements are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you draw the first thing that you or if you paint the first thing that you draw, you're actually drawing the storyboard. And that's when you run into all the compositional problems and all the other stuff. So just a thought. If you don't get there as quickly as Jake does. Okay, so wanted to do Kai's. So the really beautiful image. I love the color balance. Some of these details are really gorgeous. So that's why I responded to this one. Again, I asked myself right off the bat, what is not working, or is there anything confusing that I'd like to clear up? I did notice, my gut reaction of right when I saw something, this image is, at first I thought it's a spaceman, and he's actually being left on either Earth or a planet. So that little tug, I mean, it only took me a second to then see he's holding a teddy bear. Oh, it's a kid. But then I started thinking, well, it's kind of awkward because it's a small kid. He's making stuff out of cardboard, which a kid would do, but he's out in the field somewhere, and it's at night. So a lot of the details seem hurried in terms of we now have our story, right? We've got our storyboard. It's a kid, he's building, and this is going to be his future, which is great, but the details didn't sit well with me. So I did some kind of major surgery on this one, kind of half between the critiques I normally do and a Jake sketch, but not as fully realized as Jake's sketches get. Okay, so I started out, whoa.
That point where we start to apologize for not being Jake.
Well, in other words, a lot of times I paint critiques, but I just did a line drawing on this one because I'm doing such big surgery on this one that it would have been just a whole new painting. But I don't want to. By the way, I don't want Kai to hate me for this. I think the image is great, but once I got into it, I started changing so much that I kind of needed to do that. So don't hate me. Okay, so the first thing I did is got rid of everything. That's almost always my first step. I did notice that it's at night, and when I Googled rocket launches and all that, a lot of them take place at dawn or in the day. So I just thought, just real quick, soft brush, spray it in there. Let's get it to be in kind of a similar, like a daytime, because it just seemed weird for the kid to be out there at night. Then I just quickly roughed in a shot. I thought for a second that this might be a missile. So I just scribbled in a space shuttle kind of shape. It's tied to the little rocket back there. And, all these steps take like just 5 seconds, nothing. But then I thought it still looks just nuclear now. The color's bad. He's in kind of a wasteland over here. So that's when I did my surgery of the image, and I just wanted the kid to be in that mode that a kid build, like a safer environment, not so wild as this one on the left, and kind of trying to hit that that concept that the kid's talent. He's kind of building this thing, and he's got these ambitions. Not that he's been left out there. So I just roughed in this. This could be considered maybe the storyboard stage. It's just basically a backyard, and now we've got our rocket in the background, and it's blasting off, and so. That's when I get into the, just the real rough kind of sketch, and this is where I start writing. I really want to encourage you guys to do that. What would these parts be? I love that, we've got the cardboard box, we've got some paint, we've got some duct tape, but you could go so much further with that, bike parts and vacuums, and I started thinking of what are things in my garage, and what are all those parts that a kid might have, like right now this rocket ship is going straight up. If you guys have ever tried to build a rocket ship out of cardboard that's big, it tips over real quick. So maybe some tent stakes, just all this stuff you'd want to add in there to get that detail right, because remember, this is what we're talking about. Your talents will be recognized. So it's a kid that's building, and he's faced with all the stuff that goes wrong when you're building something and you don't have the proper tools. Look at this doorway. It's like perfectly straight. A kid's doorway is just going to be crack. It's going to be all jagged and ripped. I like the idea of him maybe holding a hammer to try to say, just to really get that builder kind of mode going, and just think about what are all the stuff in there. Now there's a couple ways to handle the gesture. I like the kind of Steven Spielberg movie poster, where he's gazing up at the rocket blasting off in the distance. But I thought, maybe it would be. Would it be different if, oh God, I drew on my layer. Would it be different if, it's hard to make this out a little bit. if he's kneeling over and he actually misses the launch because he's building, I mean, does that change the concept to something that fits it better? Because he's like, maybe he went out to watch the rocket launch at dawn, but he got so into, you know, building this like rocket that this thing kind of goes unnoticed, and that's his future, but he's already engaged in this. So those are the kind of, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I personally, I like the first version. I think
You like the standing?
I like having him looking at it.
Yeah,
But
I
I
do
don't
too.
know.
I mean, it's a very Steven Spielberg kind of moment. But that's the kind of stuff that I play with, like when I'm in that stage, the storyboard stage,
Mhm.
is how does it change? That's the question I ask myself: is how does it change the concept if I go from standing to kneeling and facing that versus turning around? And so I spend a long time kind of doing that. Jake, you got a preference, watching or kneeling?
I like him standing and looking at it. My big thing is, are we locked into this horizontal composition? Because I feel like this would be a great vertical composition.
I
However,
agree.
however, I always come back to this. Every motion picture has to deal with the
With that
horizontal.
wide format. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is almost like a TV format.
Whenever
here.
I tell myself I can't do it in a horizontal, I just remind myself that every designer of film has to deal with that.
Yeah, they do, but also, you know, you want to make the best image you can make, and
I
we're
mean,
not down.
I totally agree with what Jake's saying here. I mean, we're not locked into it. I mean, if it was for TV and that was part of the prompt, or for a movie where it has to be that wide aspect ratio, that's definitely a valid point. But I like what Jake's saying and that's why I wrote this. So we're at this point, we're at the storyboard stage. So that's where this starts to get explored. You know, there's the rocket blasting off, and the kid kind of down here, and I mean, it does lend itself to this really great
It
vertical
does, and I
format.
noticed that you pulled your rocket back a little bit to accommodate for the widescreen. With Kai's original composition, it begs for more vertical because of how close the rocket is to the top.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, but again, Will, you have a point though. Like if if the client's like, we need a horizontal image of a rocket launch, then you are stuck
Well,
there.
sometimes they choose a horizontal book format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if this is like, you know, let's say it's a poster for libraries, and it's like reading will take you to your next adventure, or so, you know, something like that, or your talents will be recognized and rewarded. You probably have the freedom to play with, you know, vertical versus horizontal.
Yeah. Yep.
One other thing is, what if he's not? I'm having a hard time with him trapped in the background or in the backyard. What if he's on the roof?
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
You know?
that would be awesome.
Like you see his bedroom, maybe you see inside his bedroom window, and he's got all these posters for space and all that stuff, and he's on his roof.
Yeah, maybe there'd be
That might be good, but
dormer.
I'm going to defend. I think Lee's is such a
Don't do
quick.
it, Will.
It's such a quick read. The backyard. Okay, we're in an environment where we're messing around, and oh look, in the distance, it's the adult version of the same thing. With Kai's original, it took me a little while to try to, like Lee said, to try to figure out what was exactly going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this backyard, again, it's a storyboard face, so I don't think this backyard has been worked out. I mean, look at, that's like a Simpsons fence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's graphic, and
With the lasso tool.
it's a quick read.
You need to get into the details, you know, like maybe there's a tree back there with some other details on it and, you know, some more foreground items or whatever like that. But I just think I just think figuring out you know, what is the setting first,
Yeah.
and then you know, that's where we start to do the Jake thing, where we do put the camera up here, and you know, is the kid over here or down here, or you know, up view or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just bringing up a lot of points. This one I didn't resolve what the answer is, but I think it is about asking the questions, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with this one.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
So,
Fun.
all right.
Cool.
So I will take it away. And the second one that I decided to do was from Russ, and I noticed that he's here. If Russ, if you wanted to, I'm gonna make it possible so you can unmute yourself if you want to say anything. But I thought this one was, there's so many really neat things happening, and I thought that there were some things that I might be able to help with. So we'll just jump right into that right now. First off, I thought it was a great concept for the uh, the fortune. Simplicity and clarity should be your theme in dress. Um, I just thought it was a really fun juxtaposition, kind of really good contrast and comparison type illustration, and it was handled really nicely. There's some really nice details, like if you look at this, I mean, he really spent some time on that. And sometimes when we show these so small, we don't really get to see everything that's going on. So that was kind of why I chose that. Okay, so the first thing, storytelling in the background, right? So what we've got all this, and I feel like, Russ, it's possible that you ran out of time. I don't know if that's true or not, or if you just didn't know what to do. But remember, you've got foreground, middle ground, background, and all of those need to kind of tell the story to kind of enhance the story. You don't really want to leave one out just because you didn't, but you also don't want to over render either. So I just kind of really quickly threw in a little bit of a background to just kind of make the setting a little bit more clear as to where we are and what's actually happening. I'm not saying it's definitely not the best background. I just scratched it in really quick. But I think that just from doing that subtle little castle and maybe a little bit more details in the forested area or something really helps the viewer in a subconscious way to understand what's going on, where we are, what's happening. Whereas, without that, you could be at the beach. It's kind of unclear. You're kind of in this unknown world, and I think it's important to do that. The second thing is consistency in lighting. So I notice that you're indicating that there's light and shadow, but we're not staying consistent with that. And what by that I mean, light has a direction, unless, especially like on a day like today, or in this illustration here where you have partial cloudy skies, that means you have partial clear skies. And when you have partial clear skies, you have sun that can make it through in a very distinct direction. And so when you pick that direction, you have to kind of stay consistent with it. So what I'm noticing when I look at this closely is I'm seeing light on this back side of the illustration, and then I'm seeing light on this other side, on the front side over here. So you really,
like the derf on the horse?
What's that?
You feel like the derf, the teeth sticking out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Nice touch.
It's fun. So I'm
learning about lighting.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So just in what I would do on something like this is I chose to light it from the front simply because there's no reason to really light him from the back and have the front in shadow. So I just said, what if the light is kind of coming down from left to right a little bit? And I just kind of threw in, actually, before I did that, I made your illustration a little bit bigger. I just felt like he was a little cramped in there, so I just added a little bit to it. You want to always make sure you have enough breathing room. And then I just kind of darkened the back side of it. So you can see that.
I did that, and I didn't like the way it looked.
Oh. Well,
You're just doing it quick now.
Yeah, it's tough because sometimes you'll end up having to cover over, and I did a really quick job. This is not a good job, so don't. This is these paint overs are a suggestion to give you an idea of, but not to say
Right.
do it like this. I also added a little bit of color because I feel like we need a contrast on him. So I did like a little bit of an enhancement just so that his color is just super bright, super light colored. And then the other thing that I looked at was, I think for your concept, you've got a contrast concept. don't be like this, be like
Right.
this, right? So I feel like the color on these guys are pretty ornate as well. So I just zap the color out of those guys. Now, I'm not saying do them in gray, but I think that it gives you an opportunity to really push the color. And
Uh,
I would push it even further on this character. I would probably have colors that are clashing maybe. I don't know. But probably super bright colors. I think you did a great job. He's super ornate. And just all these crazy extra things. The bird cage is a great, like the weather vane. I might even go further with just more things, more stuff. Like
uh,
he can't have too much stuff. Um, and then the final thing was style consistency. Basically, I'm noticing like how much work you did on the character here. And I mean, like you've gone in and you put a light side, dark side on all these intricacies.
mhm.
But then when we get to your grass, did you just run out of time?
Yeah.
So I just painted a little bit of grass in there. Um, just I mean the whole thing matters. If you ran out of time, that's cool. Just want to make sure that I draw attention to that as we use this as a teaching opportunity. But I thought
Mhm.
overall it was a great job. Um, I might have my personal preference. I probably would have gone bigger on the horse because I don't really see the reason to have such a small horse for this concept. But
That's a part of the story.
oh, is
The
it?
guy, the guy got some. He ran into a bunch of money, and he went to the armorer, and they just kept talking him into more and more. And they made, he just kept saying yes, yes, yes. Well, by the time he got all of his armor paid for, he couldn't afford a big horse.
Oh.
He had to go with a small horse.
Nice detail.
In that case, I might even make it a pony. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It'll
Donkey.
be fun, a fat little pony
Yeah.
or
Just-
donkey, right?
Donkey. I thought about doing a donkey, but I didn't like the big ears.
So anyway, I just did those were the suggestions that I came up with, and but overall, I really love the fact that you spent that much time um, on this because it really shows that when you do that, it really shows that you can push yourself to higher levels, and I think it's great.
Are you
My
guys
kids
familiar
like
with
this, so
James Christensen?
I'm sorry. Say again.
Are you guys familiar with James Christensen?
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, you guys gotta know him.
well he lives
This
right
kind of
out here.
reminds me of that.
He's actually a friend. He lives out here.
Pull up a Google search and show him because I mean this character is living so close in that world. Do you have a browser open?
I got it. Oops.
When I saw this guy's work, I was still a student when I saw this guy's work, and I was just floored with it because it's whimsical, it's so well painted, and I mean, he's known for painting these floating fish. Those were all
Yeah.
definitely more realistic of his style. Find one of his like fanciful, like that one down there with the, yeah, he just puts all these characters, all this detail on there, but he can control all that stuff too with all the textures, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I missed getting a class from him by 1 year. He went on
Oh,
sabbatical.
no way.
Yeah, he went on sabbatical right when I was going to get a class from him.
That would have been a treat. I'd like to see his painting process.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Okay, so thanks a lot, Russ.
I'm going to do those things and put that in my portfolio. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. You're
Cool.
welcome.
Good job.
All right, it's me. I am doing a piece by Lynn Larson.
Awesome.
So I believe she is with us tonight.
She is.
Yeah, so I really like this concept. Ride your ambition to the skies. We got this girl on a bike, and she's this scrappy little girl made these wings out of cardboard, and she's got this cool helmet and this red bike, and nothing can stop her. She's taking on the world, except there's a few issues with her anatomy. In this particular angle, it looks like her head. If we have her body here and her legs, are like this, her head looks like it's attached right there. Like her neck could be right here, but her head's attached right there, and then we've got these shoulders coming back, and it's just really awkward. Um, it's not quite working how it should. And I think the main problem with this is, again, we're getting in trouble here with the foreshortening. You're collapsing this iconic imagery of a bicycle, which when you see it from the silhouette side view, you know, this is, a bike is like unmistakable. But when you start to turn the wheels into these loops and you get the stuff kind of jumbled up in here, it gets harder to, it's just a harder instant read, right? So so what my suggestion is to actually change the angle a little bit. So here I have this drawing that I did here, and what I did was I exaggerated the wings. Now the wings are foreshortened, but I think you can get away with foreshortened wings a little more so, because we're so often familiar with airplane wings and bird wings and things sort of coming towards us when we see those things in profile. But what this does is it opens up the opportunity to really show this girl in a cool pose and to show the bike in a very recognizable, iconic way. Once you've got those sketches down, you can go in and start really adding the details here, like what I've done here. You know, this is just a really cartoony version of it, but you could add her helmet and have just have it work a little bit better. Have her hands come down here like this. Okay, so I did that, and then I thought, you know, maybe this isn't quite the solution. Maybe there is a way to do it looking forward, coming towards us, but clarifying it a little bit more. And I went and I found this what do we call it? A photograph? Is that what they call it these days? You can tell I'm getting tired. But this is really cool. All I did is I typed into Google kid bike jump illustration, and
I brought honorable mention, but they
I got down this tunnel of photographs of kids jumping on their bikes from the 70s. But what's really cool about this pose is how open it is and how well we can see the key components of the bike. And so I let that inspire me to do this illustration here, which I think breathes even more life into this, you know, rascal of a girl, where she's jumping and getting a little bit of air, like the wings are actually catching some air. So here we still have this bike foreshortened, but because she's opened up even more, we're not getting legs and knees and things jumbled up in here where we need to read a bike. We can still see the bike, see the girl, and we can still see the wings. And this is all about making a clear silhouette that's easy to read. And I think what we still get here is a way to put the wording on the wings, which we didn't get with the other version. And I think we do actually have her like lifting off the ground. You have some gravel coming up from when she takes off. If I were to go in here and just add a little bit more detail to this, I'd go in and draw our hands on this bike. Maybe it's like a BMX bike. This arm's going to be a little bit more foreshortened, but because it's paired with this arm, which isn't foreshortened, it makes sense. It makes a little more sense. Make sure that when you're doing this kind of stuff, you're thinking about the basic shapes. So I'm thinking about the sphere shape. I'm going to add the eyes, the nose, the mouth. I'm adding the wings, and I'm still giving them like a nice silhouette. she's got straps here so she can attach these cardboard wings to her. You know, you can add tape, all that stuff, and rope and things like that. Maybe she has like an Air Force sticker on there too. You know, stuff like that. And then we got the legs coming out here like this. Her pant legs are flared a little bit, showing that even the pant legs are catching air. Got this thing happening here like this. And then we're bringing our leg back here like this. If I were to draw this, paint this, I would have this leg really in darker shadow and have this bike opened up lighter so that it reads really well against each other. Got the wheel here, and then look how well this bike reads now without legs and feet and things getting in the way. Okay, then you got rocks and stuff coming up here and maybe little pieces of grass. She's on the trail and she just crested the hill and a gust of wind came and now she's like realizing her dreams or writing her ambition. Okay, so that's how I'd approach this.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sometimes
All right.
it's just some little bits of acting and posing and what would you call that? Just
A caricature almost, you know? Yeah. All right, that's it
Okay.
for me.
So we found that there was a problem, and that's why we didn't show all the illustrations. So we want to show them now. Also, please stick around because we're going to go over the next prompt, which is a little bit different than what we've done before. And also, before we do, I just want to get this announcement out there that next month, and we also have to show the winner, and next month we're going to do it on the 4th Thursday instead of the 3rd because Jake and I are going to be out of town at the Denver Comic-Con. So we're going to do it on the 23rd, not the 16th, which actually works out because the following month, July, it's on the 21st. So it's actually it's more of a month apart since today's the 19th. It actually works out better numerically. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's actually equally spaced better. So let's do the winner, and then let's show all the images, and let's show the next month's prompt.
Okay.
Good.
So, wait, before you do, we got to have a drum. Are you ready to show it? Wait, Lee, let's see.
Switch it to Lee.
Lee needs it. Let's see. Okay, now don't do it yet.
All right, all right.
All right, so I'll give you a drum roll.
Your drum roll. Bronson!
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this one was it just had me right at the beginning, right when I saw it. I like you said when you were critiquing, he nailed it. The fortune and the pose and all of it, just real simple, and a very, very quick read. Very nice details, controlling a lot of detail well. I thought this had a lot of things going for it. Definitely my fave.
Awesome. It's a great piece. I'm wondering, I was really wondering when I looked for him online, I didn't see, I typed in Bronson Decker art, Bronson Decker illustration, and I couldn't find a website. So got to get that stuff out there because this is great stuff.
Yeah, if the rest of the portfolio is like this, he's ready to be working for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's hard to get those kind of gestures. We did update our grouping. You want me to show the other ones that I have that I missed earlier?
Yeah,
Let's see him.
Okay, let's go ahead and do
so
that.
we again apologize, but we're going to try to make it right. Hopefully we get them all this time. Because I think it's so good to show everything. Because it's a lot of work. And
It is a lot of work. I don't want to skip anybody with how much work you guys put into this, and I look forward to seeing them anyway, especially on the prompt that I gave. The sky's the limit this month. Very nice. That looks traditional.
Yeah.
You may not be perfect, but parts of you are excellent. Even the greatest of whales is helpless in the middle of a desert. It's a great fortune. Age is a state of mind.
That was a fun one.
If you want the rainbow, you have to tolerate the rain. Comic.
I remember seeing all these. That's weird that we didn't get them the first time.
Yeah, they did. When I just downloaded them to show, they didn't show. I know they were there earlier, but for some reason they just didn't make it into that folder.
This one I thought was so cute. The rain one.
Oh, this one here?
The comic, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Every time I see a bus station with rain, I keep thinking that I'm going to see the Totoro in there.
Of course.
What does that say? This one, Jack may want to submit to a card company. This would make a great greeting card. So a lot of times, you guys, just a little side note, is once I make an illustration, sometimes if I do my own illustration for myself or something I want to paint, I make the image and then I try to find the client for it. And I've done that a lot with greeting cards and posters and things like that. I literally just send them an email saying, hey, this might work for your line, and they'll buy it.
Right.
It's awesome.
A billionaire's joke is always funny. It's a great fortune.
A billionaire has never told me a joke, so I can't
You don't
say.
hang out with a bunch of billionaires?
How would you know if you were hanging out with a billionaire?
They have a nameplate.
There's
They wear it around.
there's something
you
I've
can
never
go
told you
online.
guys.
You can go online and they'll list the billionaires there are in the world.
An unexpected acquaintance will resurface. Looks like it was part of a comic panel. Pretty good. Journey from nesting place will take you to broader horizons.
That one I almost picked to critique, but I ended up going with the bike.
Mm.
Yeah, this looks like it's part of a story that I would love to see additional images for.
Yeah.
Kind of a revamping of the never-ending story in a way. A new voyage will fill your life with untold memories.
I love the cardboard boxes.
Beverly's asking you a question, Lee. She says, do you send images to potential clients watermarked?
I never do that. And I'd love to get Jake and Will's opinion on this, but I believe that the watermark is the mark of an amateur.
I agree.
I never see it on pro work, unless I'm mistaken. Do you guys do the watermark?
No, and there's a difference. What I consider a watermark is something that's over the image to help prevent like copying it. Which is different from different from a signature. But when I send clients work, I don't sign it either. They don't usually want my signature on the illustration.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a magazine, they'll give me credit. If it's a children's book, I'll get a credit.
So Beverly's asking, she says you don't think they'll take it and not pay you. They can't use it. I only send a low resolution image. Now the worst thing that could happen is they could copy it in a similar way and do it. And I actually had that happen with a huge client. Rhymes with Moogle. Starts with a. That's the only time I've had that happen.
See, so the thing is, it's either the huge companies that are going to steal your stuff or the tiny ones. The tiny ones don't have any money, so if you took them to court, you wouldn't get anything, and the huge ones will beat you. We have to remember where we are in the food chain.
And the other thing you have to remember is how well the internet self-regulates. So I've never put the watermark on there, and I've had people steal my images, dozens of times, and use them in their portfolios and post their work as their own on social media. And every time someone will say, that's Jake Parker's work. Take that down. You didn't ask permission, whatever. Granted, I have a larger following and people looking out for me, but even if you discovered it and said, hey, this is my work, you could easily do a blog post that says, look what happened. And that's something people love sharing. And
It's a valuable thing when someone rips you off.
Yeah.
You almost want it to happen.
it happens a lot. And I mean, if you notice, if you look at what me and Jake and Will and any other working illustrators do, we're doing thousands of images. I mean, I don't want somebody to steal my work, but by the time that they have taken an image and used it, you know, without asking permission or without paying me, I've already done 100 images since then. I don't care, and I'll do 100 more.
Yep.
You know, the second you start to dig in and really want to fight for something like that, you're in trouble. And if you guys want an interesting story about that, look up the case of Modern Dog graphic design. It's the most blatant theft of a copyrighted work, and Modern Dog went after him. Took almost 10 years to litigate, and Modern Dog did eventually win but I mean, this was like not even oh, this illustration is close. It was the exact illustrations, published, everything, and they lost their house, they lost their building in the process. You know, I mean, it's just such a big step to try to go after something like that. So I don't worry about it. Like Jake said, the internet self-regulates, and I've already moved on if a company does that anyway. I did send them a thank you.
Cool.
Alrighty, let me. Are you've shown everything then?
Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. I'm just going to take it over there and let's get to the prompt. So this one's we're trying to mix it up and trying to do a little bit different things. And so basically, what I did on this one was a little bit of alliteration. King Carson Cat is the only capricious kitty that doesn't care for Korean cooked carp. Now, what I want you guys to do is to change the story. So the actual prompt has some blanks for you to fill in, and it's basically pick someone, something that is the only someone or something that doesn't like what, and that's for you to determine. So this is one where you actually get to write a little bit more maybe. But the idea is for you to not illustrate the cat, okay? Like you can pick any animal or any person or any creature or anything like that, and see what you can do with it. I think it's great if you put the text with your illustration. I think the reason for that is it really gives us something to go off of when we read it and when we critique it, but also it gives you the practice to do a little graphic design and to actually leave space for type, which I think is awesome because it's great practice. If you're working to do sequential art specifically, especially for children's books, that's part of the job. Almost every single illustration that you're doing, you're leaving room for text. So there you go. Any questions on that?
There was a question, should it be an alliteration?
No, it does not have to be alliteration. I just chose to do that because I got carried away.
Will's getting fancy.
I was having fun with it, but you don't have to do that at all. If you want to, that's cool. But you're not going to get picked for having alliteration. So, and I'd just like to thank people that are thanking us for our time, and for everything, for sticking it out, because these do go on for a little while. And it's really fun to have you guys in here. It's really fun to get the questions and the feedback. It'd make it really hard if nobody was showing up. So we really appreciate that. And keep posting in the forums. Well, the three of us have been super busy lately, but we really want to get in there more. Yeah, we have some big things planned coming up. So more great classes.
A lot of new classes, a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. Thank you, and we'll see. Oh, again, reminder, the 23rd next month, not the 16th or whatever it is. The fourth Thursday in June is when we're going to critique these next ones.
Good.
Okay. And we'll put that, we'll post that. We'll have several reminders on that. Okay, great. Good night.